Hello and welcome back to Advanced Hwoarang Lessons. What happens if your opponent was very annoying? They were stepping you, right? And you just can't seem to catch them. Whether that be sidestep left or sidestep right, or it's like unreliable. You don't know when they're stepping or where they're stepping. That's where your homing moves come into play. And there are 4 homing moves for Hwoarang to help you if the opponent steps left, steps right, or walks left, walks right. The first one we're going to cover is DF4. This has been an old reliable since Tekken 6. Its input in Tekken 6, I believe, was back 4. Here in Tekken 7, it's DF4, and it's a 16-frame mid that is +8 on hit and -8 on hit. And then if you do get it to counter hit, you are going to get a knockdown or a wall splat. Now, this +8 over here is pretty deceiving because number 1, RFF DF4 will not hit at point blank. And number 2, while this may hit, if the opponent does backdash, well, you're just gonna lose out. And there are other moves that will lose out. So it's very difficult to continue pressure right after DF4. So it's like Frontier. Is it just a check move? Well, not really. It's not just a check move. There are moves you can use. Again, it's like the list of moves that you gotta throw into the lab. Like, okay, I can use this, use that. Then I'll put them in order. One of them is RFF DF3. The other, down back 4. Another one, up back 3-4, not up back 3-3, up back 3-4. RFF FF4-3, RFF FF3, while running 3, while running 4, instant while standing 3, JFSR, or lethal skyrocket, and the flashing trident of 4-3 plus 4-4. Now, a couple of these moves, I'll put it on the screen, can lose depending on the backdash of the opponent. So the opponent has a big backdash, these moves on screen will lose. So I highly recommend, out of all the moves that are on this list, instant while standing 3. Although this move does lose to characters who have a super solid backdash, although I believe it's just like 1 or 2. I'll put it on the screen as well, which character does beat this. But this is like the best reliable one to use, because again, mids are going to be hard to avoid. As much as we can use down back 4, it's a low. Again, low parryable, low crushable, etc. You want to force your opponent in a situation where, hey, if you want to beat this, you got to press something like a parry, a reversal, or whatever. Nothing else. Like, you can't press a button, and there's no other defensive option to go around it. The other homing move is RFF DF3. Now, if you do get this to hit, back 3 is the classic follow-up for 38 damage, and then if you want bigger damage, FF3. Now, if you do delay the follow-up after for back 3, you'll get a launch. So that's already 38 damage, right? Plus even more damage if I can do the combo correctly. There you go. Total of 74 plus 38, that's a big ton. Now, this move is accessible in RFF. It is 20 frames, as you can see, knockdown on hit, and is -9 on block. On counter hit, there's not much. You just get increased damage. This used to be -13 on block, so characters with long-reaching 13 frame, 12 frame, and 10 frame punishes were punishing you. So this is why this is one of the moves you didn't really use against Gigas alongside JFSR. But now, since Season 4, they kind of just turned it into a safe homing mid. Now, what DF4 and RFF DF3 share is its range. If I throw out DF4 at range 2.5, almost there. Yeah, roughly around here. DF4 will get blocked. Yes, it is a shorter mid, so around 2.4. Not even 2.4. There you go. So they're, roughly moderate range homing moves. So they're perfect for just, if you're unsure of what your opponent's doing and you're sitting roughly at these ranges, you can throw out a DF4 just to check them for max, just to check them. Like, hey, are you stepping? Are you moving? I mean, what are you doing? And I just want to have a one-size-fits-all kind of move. So that's what DF4 and RFF DF3 can really give you. If the DF4 does hit at this range, you can either throw out your instant while standing 3 or go for a mix-up with any of the other moves. If RFF DF3 hits, congratulations, you got Okizeme and or a potential relaunch, and you can now start going in, right? That's like the main pool for these moves, aside from like scenarios where if the opponent can step, so let's say it's take over the +5 situation, if the DF1 or DF1+2 will not catch in that scenario, that's where you just throw out DF4, and that's an 11 frame mid. Same thing applies for, let's say, RFS2. If DF1+2 or DF1 will not hit in that situation, you just swap to RFF DF3. The next homing move that I do want to cover, I did separate it from DF4 and RFF DF3. However, it is very similar in its usage. But the reason why I wanted to separate it is because while you can just dance around here, throw out your DF3 or your DF4 for neutral/keep out, backlash is really its own thing. This is where it really gets connected to dancing in RFF. So if you're dancing around here in RFF and your opponent comes at you, well, they're in for a world of pain. Because number one, this move is +5 on block, and +4/+5, and it is a power crush. They just had to make it a power crush. I don't know. So it is a 27 frame power crush that in Tekken 7 launches, and for the BNB, you're roughly hitting 74 damage. And there's a lot of interesting things you can do with this. So with DF4 and RFF DF3, you're throwing it out in, let's say, neutral to check them out, or in situations where the opponent can step. Backlash can pretty much do all of it. So if you're waiting around here, go towards them, backlash. They step, they press the button, either one of the two, fantastic. One size fits all. You're in a situation where you're not sure if they're going to step or not, and you have some frames to work with as a frame trap to make backlash even faster, yeah, just throw out backlash. Of course, the major con of this is that it is a power crush. So if the opponent does throw out a low or does grab you, you are in a power crush state, therefore you're going to lose in that situation. The other thing is that players have practiced punishing backlash. So this move can be punished by at least 15 frames. So if you wait just a little bit, you'll get the punish. Of course, for Hwoarang, this is probably your best punish versus in the mirror while standing 3. Although while it is tight, you can get an up back 3. But it's not an easy thing to do. Not until they get very, very comfortable with it. As you can see, I'm not even getting the punish indicator anymore when I got the punish indicator earlier. So not an easy punish to pull off. That's why you always go for the easier stuff. Your while standing 4-4 or your while standing 3. Because all you really want to do is punish Hwoarang or the opposing Hwoarang for doing it. And with enough punishes, you will get deterred from throwing out backlash. I just want to get it once. There you go. But yeah, that takes a lot of practice. So while that is in its own category, backlash, the other one that can sort of be like backlash, but can't be like backlash, and can't necessarily be like DF4 and RFF DF3 are your Thunderbolt moves. Left Thunderbolt and right Thunderbolt. These are your tail spins, main tail spins / power crushes in Flamingo. Now these moves are linked to specific scenarios. Like let's say you do down back 4 on block, you throw out the power crush just to beat out the down jab or any retaliation for as long as they don't do a full crouch 4. Or if you're in left Flamingo, you're doing 3 forward and you just want to make sure to lock them in, 1 LFS back 3 to do it. Now the reason why they can be like backlash is because number one, they help keep the foot up. So if you're right over here with the left Flamingo or right Flamingo, your opponent will have to think twice of approaching you. It's the same thing with dancing in RFF. It's like, okay, backlash is going to come out. So it's the same thing. Okay, left Thunderbolt or back 3 or RFS back 4 will come out. However, unlike backlash, you're not punished for throwing it out. You know, you're going to end up at +4/+5. And if the opponent doesn't punish you consistently for it, whether that be an 11 frame, 14 frame punish, and if they're really, really good at their 16 frame or 15 frame launcher, you're not really going to get hurt. But here, if you throw it out, yes, you will become +14. That's both for left and right Thunderbolt. But if it does get blocked, you are getting punished for risking a check to potentially, again, stop their movement or tank whatever button they're pressing as you approach, because it is a viable approach tool, just a risky one at that. Now, to recap, these moves, again, are 20 frames apiece. The frame data for both these moves are literally identical. Plus 20, 20 frames startup, 14 on hit, and this is a legitimate 14, by the way. Like, they cannot backdash this. So after left Thunderbolt, you can really just lock them in with RFF back 2, and then after for right, you can lock them in with a DF4 and you're good to go. Or even an F1+2, which is probably a better choice to rock with. And they're both negative 12 on block. Now, it does low crush, although again, the low crush on this is a little bit slow. So while you can use it to just approach, or like if your opponent's gonna press a low option in Flamingo, let's say you keep your leg up 1, 2, and then power crush to low crush, just know that you might lose. I've seen some situations, both from watching other Hwoarangs and playing the game myself, where you keep the leg up, you know they're gonna do a low, you LFS back 3 or RFS back 4 instead of doing LFS up forward 4, LFS up forward 3-4, or RFS up forward 4. Those are more reliable in terms of low crushing. So there's sometimes you just lose. That does happen. So that's all 5 homing moves for Hwoarang. Again, DF4, RFF DF3, Backlash, LFS back 3, and RFS back 4. Perfect again for stopping the opponent from moving, depending on the frame situations. Or again, if you just want to like come around and just press the button, just to double check them. Although, albeit with certain risks for specific moves, and just knowing where the range is on where you can throw it out. Backlash, you can't necessarily throw it out at the same range as DF4 and RFF DF3. LFS back 3 and RFS back 4, you can throw it out a little bit farther because he jumps forward, but again, unsafe. That's just a brief overview of all the homing moves that Hwoarang has in his arsenal. I'll see you in the next advanced Hwoarang lessons. End screen, again, will show when it does drop.